great to be joined by Stephanie Otey. She does a great job covering the game of college football. I know that she, much like myself, has quite a bit of affinity for the Big Ten. And Stephanie, it's great to have you in studio. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's great to be back. Another college football season's coming. Cannot wait to get started.
I can't wait as well. And I always get excited whenever I have a guest on the show and they have nice things to say about my home state of Wisconsin. So we're starting right there. Let's take a look at the Big Ten. Let's take a look at Wisconsin because their odds to be able to win their division within the Big Ten. Over there at the West, you're able to find that right around about plus 125, plus 130, depending on your book. And apparently you like the Wisconsin Badgers to be able to do so and make that Big Ten title game.
I definitely love the Badgers under Luke Fickell. You got a great coach from Ohio State. He was an interim coach there, did great things, but what he did at UNC was fantastic. He had 9 players that went into the NFL draft, tied with Georgia as the most, really being able to develop players, but he's building out this Wisconsin team into a new era. Getting Phil Longo from UNC is massive. He led the Tar Heels to 3 straight seasons with that offense in the top 25 in points per drive. He helped develop Sam Howell and Drake Maye into Heisman contenders. But the thing that's interesting with this Badgers team is it's not going to be as run heavy as it always has been for decades, running the ball over 61% of the time. Now it's an attraction spot for wide receivers. I think that's going to be fascinating, but definitely taking advantage of the last year with divisions in the Big Ten. We know the Big Ten West is a bit weaker. I think Luke Fickell can significantly optimize on that in his first year as he's getting acclimated in Wisconsin, and I love the odds for them to take the West.
Yep, and with Wisconsin as well, they've got a pretty generous non-conference as well. You play against Buffalo at Washington State, as we know that was a little bit of a trouble spot for them last year, and then against Georgia Southern. In my opinion, they should be able to win all 3 of those games. So if you're looking at a win total as well, I think that there's a little bit of value there. And with Wisconsin, I believe that they are calling it now the Dairy Raid offense. I still, being someone from Wisconsin, my sister is a graduate from that fine university, know that they've been plucking out a bunch of 320-pound farm kids play on the offensive line as well. So that is going to be a very interesting look, but one that I think is going to be good for them. But as we know, with the Big Ten, there's 2 very clear favorites with regards to odds. If you're looking to win the Big Ten, to be able to make the college football playoff, what have you, that'd be Ohio State, a school that you know very, very well, and Michigan. And how do you view Ohio State coming into the year? Because their win total is 10.5, and as we know with Ohio State, high expectations for them, but a little bit more turnover at the quarterback spot than we've seen in quite a while.
I'm concerned about that Michigan game always. Michigan has a lot of returners. They get Blake Corum back, and we also have a veteran in J.J. McCarthy, whereas the Buckeyes have a quarterback battle going on. As they're saying, I do think it's going to be Kyle McCord. I do have him as a Heisman contender. I love him at plus 2,200. McCord has familiarity with Marvin Harrison Jr., who is a top target for him. They played in high school together. Brian Hartline, as we know, pumps out receivers, top talent that go on to the NFL. He's got plenty of targets. That's big play caliber for that Heisman moment that you're looking for. He's got a lot of targets, and now Brian Hartline is calling the offense, but when it comes down to that game, it's going to be in Ann Arbor. That's my concern. So I don't want to take a bet on the Big Ten East. It's going to come down to Ohio State and Michigan, I believe. We did see both of those teams in the playoff last year, but my favorite bet for the Buckeyes, if you're a Buckeye fan, is to take Kyle McCord as the Heisman. As we've seen, 19 of the past 23 Heisman winners were quarterbacks. And we've seen 26% of the time this century, the finalists are not quarterbacks. So more often than not, it will be. But it's not going to be a favorite. It's going to be someone with longer odds. 5 of the last 7 prior to last year had odds longer than 20-1. Right now at 22-1 for Kyle McCord is great. He's had 70% completion when he did play for Ohio State. Like I said, he's got those targets, 3 touchdowns. So I really like that pick right now. Ryan Day has had quarterbacks in the Heisman ceremony 4 years with Dwayne Haskins as the quarterback coach under Urban Meyer, and then C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields. So really like Kyle McCord as a Heisman pick this year.
Yep, and as we know, Stroud was able to make the Heisman Trophy ceremony each out of the last 2 years as well. And to your point, 19 of the last 23 Heisman winners, they have been quarterbacks. The other 4, I believe, all of them have been Alabama skill position players, because you had the running backs of Alabama. You also had a few years ago as well everything that we saw with the man that is now over there with the Philadelphia Eagles and Devontae Smith. So I do think that that's worth taking a look at as well. As joining me on the show, we do have Stephanie Otey. She does a tremendous job following the game of college football, and I know that you do a great job with regards to the Big 12 front as well, and I do think that this is going to be a really interesting conference. I think that Kansas is a little bit of sleeper in that conference, and it feels like all these books, they've got Texas as a very demonstrative favorite, right around like even money to be able to win the conference. Their win total is at 9.5, and that is juiced up to the over. But I feel like you're taking my approach. You're not necessarily buying into all this Texas hype. Personally, I think that taking a look at any other team to win the Big 12 provides a little bit of value, along with a little bit of an under with regards to their win total.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. There's always hype around Texas every year. They're the favorite to win the Big 12 right now. But they lose Bijan Robinson, a 8th overall pick. Even when they had Ewers in there, they weren't stellar. His accuracy wasn't on point. After he got back from that injury in the Alabama game, he only threw 197 yards over that once. I don't like that number to expect them to get 10. The Longhorns haven't done that since 2009. To expect them to do that now when there are questions at the quarterback position.
And Alabama week 2.
Yeah, they get Alabama on the road, they get TCU on the road, and they get Baylor on the road. To expect a team to win 10 games when there are some concerns around quarterback right now. I know they have Arch Manning in the wings right now. He's got a lot of stellar football blood in his system, but realistically, he's a rookie, and I don't want to take a team to win 10 games if there are questions around quarterback in the preseason.
Yep, I'm right there with you with Texas. I think that they're going to be a fine team. I don't think that they're going to like completely poop out and win like 6 games or anything like that, but 9.5 wins, even money to win the Big 12, no thanks for me. I think that there is a lot better value out there in the Big 12, and I think that it's going to be a very difficult conference, even with them adding a few teams in there as well. And I take a look at the middle of this conference as well, and I'm intrigued by it. It's the ACC, because much like I was talking about with the Big 10, you have 2 demonstrative favorites there in Michigan and Ohio State that are very close 1 and 2 with regards to odds to be able to win that division. You've got that with the ACC as well. Clemson and Florida State, they're mere pennies within each other with odds to be able to win the ACC. And then there's a big fall off, and there are a few teams I'm bullish on with regards to the ACC. I think that Miami could take a little bit of a stride forward. I also do think that you might be able to find a little bit of value on Pittsburgh, and feels like you're with me a little bit more on the Miami front.
Yeah, I think I look at their win total right now, and it does look like a little bit of an overreaction from their 5-7 season last year. They are coached by Mario Cristobal, who we remember from the Oregon Ducks team. He took an 8-4 team and led them to 10-2 with Justin Herbert. They did it again, won 10 games in 2021 before he went over to Miami. I think he's going to be able to turn the path here in Miami as well. They also have Tyler Van Dyke, who was a dark horse for the Heisman not too long ago. I know he's been iffy at times, but when he's on, he's really on. They've really revamped this Miami team, got an enhanced offensive line. They got new coordinators. They utilized the transfer portal very well, got a great recruiting class. They have all the tools to get past that hump. As you mentioned, they have UNC and FSU on the road, but they get Clemson at home. So I think all of this amounts to just enough to get past 8 wins, and that's easily doable for a team that is really on the upside at this point.
And 3 out of their 4 non-conference games are very winnable as well. That game against Texas A&M is going to be difficult. If they lose to Bethune-Cookman, I mean, your win total is probably cooked from there, but then you've got at Temple and, as you mentioned, Miami of Ohio as well. So I do think that there's a little bit of value there with regards to the over. And how do you view that ACC? Because it feels like it's a 2-team race between Florida State and also Clemson, but I think that it could be a case where we do see some of these teams, like even a Louisville, be able to get to, as you were mentioning, 8-9 wins.
Yeah, I think the question is around Clemson. Can they really hold on to the top anymore? There are some teams submerging as we've seen, but I don't know if I'm ready to take it just yet this year. My favorite pick out of the ACC is Miami. I think they are going to be the team to surprise everyone, but not to the extent to take over the conference. But we saw the ACC miss that on the playoffs last year. I'm expecting that again this year.
Yep, I do think that the ACC landscape is a very interesting one, and I think that we're just going to be in for a really good college football season as well. Certainly the SEC reigns supreme, but the ACC is going to be providing some very good football.